Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to.
So why did you pause your musical career?
Like I said, sometimes it's not one's doing. I did not pause my musical career because I wanted to. But normally, let me honestly tell you the dynamics of how the music industry works in various territories. In America, for instance, if you are not in the mainstream, you like play music every weekend in a small suburb nightclub. It won't reflect that you are being heard in Nigeria. Thank God, the only reason that things have changed is because of thank God for internet. In the time I came, internet was just at its call it baby, like embryo stage, so to speak, in terms of volume of being heard. People were still very skeptical about what the internet is all about. But today, with a click of a button, your music, whatever you're doing, and this conversation we're having is all over the world. People can access you. But as at that time, there was no way of knowing what my Okri was doing. Yes, at one time I had to, knowing fully well I had to feed my family, I had to combine that with other jobs. I mean, there was a time that I was quoted, I was saying that I drove a taxi. I never drove a taxi. But I know of many musicians that were driving a taxi. Reason is because they could not fit in. I like challenges. As a singer, I've sung with opera, with groups. I've gone for audition with Tribeca. I've done so many things that people say, "Oh wow!" So and in the midst of this group of people, I'll find myself that I'm even the oldest, but my voice, even when they want to turn me down and say, "Oh no, we can't have you because you are too old for that." But when I dish out my vocals, they'll say, "Wow, this guy is uniquely different." And I'm always very good at doing harmonies, so that gives me a plus. But the unfortunate situation is that I can't travel abroad with them because I don't have no papers. So I have to go through that process. So sometimes that is where I lose out. If eventually I audition for an event in New York and we are planning to go on a Europe tour, they always have my second best to replace me because those ones are Americans, they have paper. It's later they will come and find out, "Oh my God, you don't have no papers? Oh, so I'm sorry." But the point here is that they don't still discriminate. So the truth became like I had to balance the equation. Go back to getting to school so I can get some license to work here. And the process of my papers was not easy. There were so many things I had to do for the government to approve me. So those were the singularly placed challenges. When people say singularly, because on an individual basis, put together, that I had to go through. So anybody for those that are lucky and fortunate that came in with Lotto, I wasn't one of them. But I was also fortunate so far that I found favor in God to be able to say, okay, family first and every other thing follows.
Okay. Now, other than music, what else do you do in America?
Okay, I'm like, I don't know if people who are into social services, I do counsel, I drug and alcohol. It's a major problem here in Southern California, in the whole of California and the United States. We cannot. We've been getting involved through the agencies I work for in cases of children being molested, those who are into drugs and what have you. So my job, passionately, I'm somebody who can talk and who can work with the less privileged in that field of either homelessness or dysfunctional families. And to place it more clearly, in my field, I've been able to identify some of the things that we don't even consider to be a problem back home. Like, for instance, in this society, because the society educates you to understand the complexity of what they are going through. So already we're able to identify these problems that, yes, because of the so-called freedom and liberty, it has a downside. So it's still it still brings us back to knowing that charity begins at home. If you identify it, and if you're able to be the kind of father or mother that works together to bring up your children in the right way. Sadly, there's a lot of foster parents who adopt people's children. There are lots of situations where the government, because we find the parents as unfit and will collect the children and go and put the foster home or whatever, it's not always a proper thing to do for such families. So some of us have gone faith-based in our approach. And it's been working. But you have to be a very strong believer, trusting God first. Not that you don't follow the basic rules, but you follow the basic rules, but anchoring it with God being involved. But unfortunately, we're in a society where you don't have to force God or Jesus Christ on anybody. Otherwise, that could be a crime too, or some kind of civil suit. So there are things that I love to do that when I am called to do my job, I do it diligently because I have passion for humanity. Anybody that doesn't have passion for humanity cannot do my kind of job. The same thing goes to those who are in the medical fields, like nurses, registered nurses. They share some passion in what I do, but I'm just on the psychological side. So based on that, I am able to, add my own little quota.
All right.